There are three stages in a woman's life when her need for connection with a man grows far more intense. The harsh reality explained in depth. There are three very particular moments in a woman's life when the desire to be in a relationship rises considerably. And this doesn't occur by chance. It's not merely emotional. It's also psychological and biological. If you're a man who fails to grasp these stages, you'll keep misreading women's behavior again and again. Many men assume that women pursue relationships in the same manner throughout their lives. But that notion is entirely mistaken. Science reveals a very different picture. Developmental psychologists at the University of Chicago examined how women's motivation in relationships shifts with age and uncovered something that is rarely discussed openly. A woman's desire for a partner does not stay constant. It clearly intensifies during three specific and predictable stages. And most importantly, what she seeks in each of those phases changes completely. What they found even took several of the researchers by surprise. Let's begin with the first stage, between the ages of 18 and 22. This is the exploration phase. During this time, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and long-term decisions, is still maturing. As a result, much of her focus remains on the present. She looks for experiences, romance, and emotional intensity. She isn't dwelling too heavily on where she'll be in 5 years. She's absorbed in what excites her right now. At this point, she is not typically searching for a lifelong committed relationship. She's gathering experiences. And the kind of man she finds attractive tends to mirror exactly that, a man who brings excitement, energy, and enthusiasm into the present moment. But this is where everything begins to shift. The second stage arrives between the ages of 25 and 30. This is when many things start to transform. Her surroundings change. Her friends begin getting married and people close to her start forming families. At the same time, what many refer to as the biological clock, something neuroscientists confirm is real and not merely a social myth, starts generating a quiet yet persistent sense of urgency. Researchers at Columbia University who analyzed female attachment and bonding patterns found that during this stage, women stop seeking only emotional connection. They begin, often without realizing it, to assess men from a different angle. Now they consider long-term potential, stability, character, and future security. The same woman who at 21 chased intense emotions starts at 28 to prize reliability. That's why if you've ever watched a woman suddenly alter her expectations or elevate her standards, it didn't occur randomly. There's a reason behind that shift. And then comes the third stage, between 38 and 45. This is likely the most misunderstood phase of all. By this point in life, she has lived long enough to possess clarity. She has built something of her own. Perhaps she has already known love, heartbreak, or even both. And then she reaches what many women regard as one of the most significant and revealing moments of their lives. Her priorities change once more. She is no longer attempting to impress anyone. She is seeking emotional security, not necessarily in financial terms, but in the emotional peace a person can provide her. She starts to prize stability, presence, and authenticity. Psychologists describe this as the shift toward authenticity. At this stage, superficial attraction loses much of its hold and emotional depth becomes what truly counts. Now, this is the reality every man ought to grasp. If you encounter a woman at any of these stages and fail to understand what she truly requires at that point in her life, you'll wind up taking her behavior personally. You'll conclude she's complicated or inconsistent. But the truth is, she isn't. She's simply responding to a phase of life that no one ever taught you to recognize. And here's the hard truth. A woman who appears deeply connected to you at one stage can naturally drift away at another. Not necessarily because you've done anything wrong, but because her needs have evolved over time. The men who succeed in avoiding confusion and disappointment are those who comprehend this pattern. They don't depend solely on the right moment. They form connections grounded in a genuine understanding of the other person. Because in the end, the real question was never what does she want. The real question was always what stage of her life is she in right now.